president should be announcing and saying, listen, we've got to move away from the coastlines, as far away from the coast as they can. Is like there isn't a timetable, there's an event timetable, but the president has been trying to announce it since last September. So first they tried with the emergency broadcast system. That didn't work. And then, believe it or not, I mean, you think if you're president, you can just announce whatever the hell you want. And no, you can't, because there are people, the elite and the rich and the powerful, don't want you to stop going to your job. I mean, if they announced the whole truth, do you think anyone would show up for their job? Now, I live on a mountaintop in the middle of the Maine coast because Maine was held down by glaciers. And it's slowly rising, so once the crust comes free of the core, it's just going to pop up another 500 feet. So I'll be doing fine with a 600-foot tidal wave. But Florida, that's actually going to sink. The UK, that's going to sink. Japan is going to sink. So a lot of places, it isn't just a matter of a 600-foot tidal wave. And then, of course, all the ice in the whole world is in the wrong place, so that's going to melt. So the Zetas say the final sea level is going to be 700 feet above present. So the president isn't going to say what's going to happen. He's going to say there's a planet in between the Earth and the Sun, that he would turn it over to NASA, which would say, yes, there's a rogue planet, but we were prohibited by national security, but don't worry about it. Go back to sleep. If anything's going to happen, we'll tell you. And then maybe they turn it over to NOAA, which is saying, well, this huge Earth wobble is what's causing all this weather. They're never going to admit that global warming and climate change were a lie, because can you imagine the lawsuits? It would bring the whole world to a halt, because how many hundreds of billions of dollars have been spent on reducing fossil fuels? And, the thing is Planet X is roiling the magma, so the magma's circulating closer to the bottom of the crust, so the seafloors are warming, and the ice is melting from underneath. But the actual truth is the Arctic just had one of the coldest winters in years, and the amount of ice that formed this winter in the Arctic is unbelievable. Antarctica has been gaining ice. The top of the Himalayas and a lot of these glaciers are gaining ice. So this whole global warming thing, they're never going to use that phrase again. They would rather die than say global warming. So, I don't know how he's going to put it, but my opinion is he's got to announce it. And meanwhile, the government is doing all these strange things, like ordering 1.2 billion rounds of hollow point ammunition. They're going to arm these Social Security employees, and the National Weather Service employees are all going to be packing with hollow point bullets. I mean, come on. Who thinks, that's normal? What are they expecting? And, of course, there's going to be some people who are going to riot and steal and loot, be out of control. But yet, if they do announce it, then people will go, well, this is something that we're all facing together. Let's work together to save as many people as possible. But they've got to do it sooner than later. Now, I live on a mountaintop. I heat with wood. I've got an outhouse. I'm ready for no electricity and no fuel. I live in a forest. I've got wood all around me. So, my theory is if you're ready for pole shift today, then you're going to be ready for it whenever else you can. But if you notice, around the world, the economy has not been getting better, regardless of what they're saying. And people are realizing every day that everything they've worked for all their lives is coming to naught. And hopefully people will say, well, really, what is important? And they'll realize, every time you see a disaster, you see people say, well, I lost everything, but, at least we all survived. And, that's what's important. And people are going to start realizing, well, maybe people are more important than possessions. See, that's the thing. There isn't a timetable, and that's the number one question everyone asks. Well, when is this going to happen? But the thing is it could happen at any time. The only country that's taken any provision is China, which has built these ghost cities because, remember I had said that the southeastern China plate was going to be sinking. Well, Jakarta, Indonesia, parts of it are 85 feet below sea level. That sinking is almost 70% complete in that tip of the Southeast Asian plate. But all the other Earth changes have stopped. And I was talking to Nancy on the phone. I said, that I heard that these metal boxes were found on the beaches in Oregon and they were vibrating. And I said, I think there's extraterrestrial devices. But it is true. On all the faults of the Earth, there are tens of thousands of these boxes vibrating. And what they're doing is, instead of letting the movement of the plates, because the roiling of the magma deep in the core of the Earth is causing these quakes and these other shifts. The north end of South America is going to move to the west. The north end of Africa is going to move to the east. The Atlantic is going to get wider. The Pacific is going to get narrower. So there's all these things. And so anyway, these metal boxes have put that off. And the reason why is because they want to have the massive social change. And you can imagine if the president does announce it, of course there's going to be massive social change. So Planet X is not going anywhere. It's sitting there. And the clump of four planets, the dark twin, Venus, the Earth, and Planet X, are still rotating around the sun, but they're not moving in relation to each other. And the tail is stretched towards the Earth, so that rock that came down over Russia and the other ones that we're seeing over San Francisco and Cuba and Japan are all from the tail of planet rocks, and there's trillions of them. So this is going to be a big disaster. So when the president announces it, and I mean, I'm not sitting in his office privy to whatever they're deciding, but I can tell you this. They really don't want people to he's not going to use the word Planet X. He's going to say, look, Reagan signed an executive order making it top secret. Every president signed on, but I'm such a humanitarian that I'm telling you that there has been a planet between the Earth and the Sun for 9 years, and why not? I mean, if it separates from the Sun where every single person on Earth looks up and goes, oh my God, what's that? And the glowing area, the thing that's at the 5 o'clock position, is the tail, which is sort of transparent, translucent, whatever you want to say, because it's a cloud of dust or red iron oxide dust. It's lit by the sun, and you can see that from Earth. So that's what people are taking pictures of, is the tail of Planet X stretching towards the Earth. And you can't see Planet X itself, but one of these days, when it gets far enough from the sun, you are going to see that the Council of Worlds has told the president, you've got to announce it. So you can speculate that the first thing he would say is Ronald Reagan had an executive order that this is top secret, and every other president signed on, but now I'm going to be the one who's breaking that because everybody has to know that. How can he not announce it? Because Planet X pulls the magnetic bar of the Great Atlantic Rift down towards it, and then as the Earth continues to shift and the Atlantic no longer faces the sun, then the North Pole, which doesn't like the North Pole of Planet X, pushes the North Pole of the Earth back. So you get these wobbles, and what you get is this gigantic loops in the jet stream. So normally the jet stream moves from west to east, but now if you notice these weather maps, and why wouldn't you with all these big storms? So everybody's more interested in the weather than ever because it's really can be life or death. And what you get is these giant arcs of cold air coming down from the Arctic, and 30 miles to the east, you've got this giant arc of tropical air coming up from the Caribbean, and you've got this clash of fronts that makes these gigantic storms. I mean, look at Hurricane Sandy. And, if the government told the truth, they should say nobody should rebuild anywhere. But it's just like Katrina in New Orleans. People are saying, well, we're going to bring it back, and it's going to be so meaningful, and we're going to have Seaside Heights, New Jersey, ready for the tourist season. And, but the truth is nobody should be there now at all because this is right in the danger zone. They should be saying, well, we're going to move anyone that wants to go from the coast. And that's the interesting thing. The Zetas have said even when this is announced, probably only as much as 60%, but no more than that, are going to go, oh, my God, we've got to go to safety. And the rest are going to go, well, I really don't want to change anything, so I'm going to keep going to work. And if a tidal wave washes over me, then that's it. I'll just die. Well, okay, that's what this life is like. You're entitled to be a skeptic, you're entitled to be in denial, and you're entitled to die in it, but there's no reason for you to do that. So the binary star is quite a distance away. That's why it takes 3,657 years for Planet X to return. So it's something we've never seen because it's burned out, but it is a huge body, and that's where it started. And evidently, Planet X has been coming here at least 2 billion years. So, it wasn't that the Anunnaki were always there. They reached a point where they decided they wanted to powder the gold and put it in their atmosphere to keep the planet a little bit warmer. It's got giant hot magma in its core, and it's got water, which has the highest specific heat of any substance in the universe, so it holds heat. It takes longer to heat water than anything in the universe, and water holds heat longer than any. So, but they were getting cold, so that's where the whole quest for gold came from. That Phobos is a spaceship because it's hollowed out and it's got chambers in it because they use ground-penetrating radar. But actually, Phobos is one giant gold nugget, and the Anunnaki, since they came back, have been mining. Go do a search in Wyoming. Dick Cheney tried to get the Wyoming legislature, and he only failed by a few votes, to buy a used aircraft carrier. Now, with Wyoming, Edgar Cayce said that Omaha was going to be the greatest seaport in North America after pole shift, and evidently he's planning that the Mississippi will split wider, saltwater will go up to the Great Lakes, and then up the Missouri and the Platte rivers, and then maybe the Red River. And I guess they were planning to, keep it, in the Great Lakes or in the Gulf, and then float it right up to Wyoming. But you can see why he would want that. It's got nuclear power. It's got a hospital. It holds 5,000 people, and he could load it with fighter strike jets, and be king of the world. And you look at the billionaires around the Earth, they're trying to start their own space programs. So nobody's going to leave Earth and come back as kings of the Earth afterwards. No, they're all going to have to go through it. And whether you're a billionaire or not, you're going to have to roll up your sleeves. So, you've heard of the idea of these deep underground bunkers everybody was going to head. But, how well are they going to survive in 10-plus power earthquakes? So they're not. But then, after pole shift, at the hour of pole shift, when the tidal waves start, then everyone's going to, after that, there won't be any earthquakes, so people are going to want to be underground, because how are you going to survive? People are going to want to be underground, because how are you going to survive?
Showing a winged, looks like a small planet or moon or such to the lower left of the sun. And let's see, time was 6:09 p.m. We're still working on getting the exact location for this photograph. The second photograph is the same one. I just loaded it into Microsoft Office Picture Manager and adjusted the midtone color all the way to the left to -100, and that just exposes images in a different way. It's exactly identical photograph. And I have the JPEG, the original JPEG photo, for anyone who would like to inspect it or examine it. You're welcome to. This is what Miss Bowden says. I've been snapping photos for 3 straight days and found the object in question along with a second object. I'm not sure I see a second object, but this is what she wrote. I used a nighttime filter and blacked out all photos when snapping my shots, and it worked perfectly. I have been taking sun photos in the morning and evening hours, and each time I capture both objects. When taking the photos in the morning hours, 7 a.m. Central Time to 8:15 a.m. Central Time, from the east, the 2 objects show up on the upper left side of the sun. And when I shoot the photos in the evening from 5:45 p.m. to 6:10 p.m. Central Time, from the west, both objects show up in the lower left-hand side of the sun area. I'm sending you 10 photos that I took from my front yard here in Texas, and feel free to show them to your viewers. I believe every human being has the right to know what is heading our way. I will be taking photos daily. And then concluding this, please note that this came to me from Linda at What's Going On News. Again, that's Linda, What's Going On News. Thank you to all these people, both these parties, for getting the information to me, George McClure. And more will be posted, more's forthcoming as I receive more information.
There it is. Okay, there's one. Okay. They're everywhere, guys. So as we continue, we still have these same abrasive patterns with the system. Okay, as we have this large moon, and we have the moon in front of this large moon. Okay, and this happens quite often. Okay, I can show you this in another video very briefly at the end. Okay. But I do believe that this is an area of great disturbance within the cloud. And again, it brings us back to cutting the cake. That is a pretty big slice, and we can see the atmospheric tonal blue look to it. Okay, as we continue to further ourselves through the video, and we can also see as depth of perception kicks in, we have the objects coming out of the background, dark color again here, and they grow in size as they move forward, okay, towards, of course, the camera. Okay, now as they do so, you can see how the arm interacts with the objects, and how these objects creating this debris are interacting, and as well as the very light oxidal color is interacting with the dark. We can see it by this claw shape here, all right, with multiple protrusions here as well. It's very minutely small with the objects. Encountering that as we continue, remember the depth of perception. Okay, and remember the objects can be of different coloration. Okay, I mean, there's one here, dark moons. Okay, and you can see the very sharp arm of debris. Okay, a moon here has left this debris. It's climbed over this moon, just like these did. They went over the side of this moon, as these ones on that side went over the side of this moon. But yet the objects that went over the side create the same pattern, and it leaves us into this area. Look at this beautiful, beautiful working of the system cloud oxide as the objects are pushing themselves, creating that very beautiful cotton look. But as we center into this, we can see the very dynamic, perfect, and again I say picture frame because it's perfect squares, perfect turns, perfect edges. Okay, so as we continue closer to where we are headed here, I want to pause here because I want to show you these moons that sit up above this flat area. You see the very beautiful lining effect here. Okay. Now, anybody that is not familiar with this system would probably say that that resembles a boat, okay, or a pyramid. Okay, I see the boat perfectly square outside, and it's squared inside a bit and squared here, almost like a pyramid. And it definitely has the objects. Okay, and of course this could not be any more beautiful. And I like to think of this as 10 of us sitting on inner tubes at the very top of a hill that's full of snow, fresh packed snow. and we are wanting to make it down here. And it's going to be a race, and all 10 of us are going to start at the same time. So as we start, here's our trails. Okay, we see them again. As we're making ourselves down, we still see our trails. In certain areas, we have, of course, larger objects that we encounter. Space is large. The system is large. We never know where an arm is going to come. Okay, but as we come down, we can see the objects. You can see them. Okay, as they're coming down, and they're making good headway. Okay, they create the turn. You can see right here, you can see the lining effect, the debris. Okay, how it creates the lines, how minutely small they are, because again, depth of perception gets further away. So if you start from this area right here and you start to walk yourself towards the middle of the screen, you start seeing the things that are creating it. And then that changes your perception a bit. As we move up again, we have the same pattern happening here. We have the objects that are butted next to each other, okay, that are creating that squared feature, and you can see them. Okay, they're so close to each other, you lose 10% of each side of the object. Okay, so if you remember that, okay, some areas you don't. Some areas you look straight down on them, as we will right here, and you will have full circular objects. Okay, with the beautiful picture framed objects as well. So what makes this system so mystical, it's able to have both. It's amazing. But let's keep one thing in mind, okay, and this will help your learning curve a lot. Knowing that an object can be white and blue. Okay, that's very important, because with a white planet, you have white objects, which is very tough to see. Okay, but if it is lit with dominance of interaction, then of course the oxide becomes bright. Okay, the darker the charcoal blue objects, of course, most of the times the charcoal blue object is written to us because of the debris. It is written for us here. But I want to show you this area because it is so, this is another reason why the system is so reclusive. Okay, we have the dominance in the cotton white objects, and then right next to it we have the dominance in the charcoal blue. Complete opposite, right next to each other. And this tells you how prominent the buildup of the system and its shading possibilities in each aspect, each turn of the system is, and how it changes the look of it to us all the time. Okay, we can see as these white ones fade towards the bottom of the screen, we can see the charcoal blue ones, and easily we can see the debris lining that goes over each and every one of them. And as the debris goes over each moon, we can also as well see the interaction of objects coming over these ones that are traveling together towards a different location as these are. Okay, these would be going from the left to the right of the screen, of course, as the dark emitted circular objects are going from, of course, the top to the bottom of the screen towards the sun. And again, it creates that transparency with the background, very hard to see. Okay, but only when we draw back the camera and we take a gander at each aspect of each area that is playing out, it's then we see the full structure of the system, guys. It's truly amazing. Just have to take a breath. It's amazing. And the coloration, guys, that is coming with this system is profound. It's truly profound. And we can see in this area there's a moon here. It's a small moon. You see the debris that's coming off of that. And again, you can see the angel wings, the two wings that push off the sides of each object. And you can see just, it's very beautiful, guys. I'm a bit lost for words. We have an object here that's white. Okay. We have a very structured, picture-perfect square here on the very top of this object. We have objects that are climbing this side of it. We can see this is a planetary object, clearly, with debris. Okay, and this is a moon with its hand of debris. It's starting to slingshot over this dark object. So are these. You can see the misty wave effect it has. Okay, from the brightly lit oxide. Okay. And as they interact, of course, there's another dark object. It's going to be a complete interaction. Now, as this light anomaly creates itself, we have the walk. This object is still walking towards the light. We have the very bright objects. We can see them here. Okay, they're walking from the right to the left. You can see them here as well. Okay, you can see them right here, very dominant right here. How they darken themselves out. See, the light is pushing, and it's darkening out the planets. You can see them pushing themselves out as it moves. This wave moves. Okay. It's a very dominant structure, and I still believe that this is Nibiru. Very prominent. You can see this orange planet coming out right here. Okay, pushing itself out. Okay. And as I said before, we have objects that are coming through this from the right to the left, and we also have objects, as you can see here, okay, going from the top to the bottom. So they're interacting all the time with one another. Okay. Of course, we have a wave that's created here. There's a major push, major push here. Just look at the dominance and lighting. I mean, it's amazing. See the moon right here, still walking itself down. It's beautiful, very, very clear and vivid. See how the light bends around this area. And for moments we can make out the colorated objects. And again, I believe this is Nibiru. It's much, much larger than it was a month ago. Much larger. If you remember, in July of 2013, I caught a very fiery object that had an object in front of it. Okay, and clearly for a moment this does. Okay, and if sought right, it still bends down. And again, the wave effect that we started out with in the very beginning, pushing up to the very beautiful cotton white cluster. And it's a pure divide, guys. And again, we have the object that has a beautiful tail and the beautiful aperture bend of lighting with it. If we look at it right about here, we can see that it bends perfectly, and the light keeps doing that circular bend to it. It's very beautiful and dominant. You can see it. It has wings to it. Beautiful. Almost as if an object were sitting right here.
Oh yeah, look, you can see it already. Now is that just the sun? I mean, because if you look, there's the ambience of the yellow there. Right in the middle, this big red something. Explain this to me, please. Fucking wow. Look at that. What is that? I have no explanation.
Alright everybody, it's 7 and 12, how y'all doing? Hi 12, what's up man?
Hello, hello.
8:50, so we're 12 minutes before sunset, and I can't believe. July 17th, 2017, Cincinnati, Ohio, about 600 miles south of the Great Lakes. I mean, I just do not know what I've been watching tonight. I really don't know. What is the thing that just... What's the huge red thing that just popped?
He's not as mild-mannered, but... He's not gonna love a dog. Oh, really? Mine's pretty friendly. 15 years old.
Hey, where's Bags at? Bags, because we got some red balls of badassery down there, and we'll probably be dropping a few tonight. Bags, if you don't mind. Thank you. What are all the redsies? So is that our sun? Is it not our sun? What is going on? Let me see. Does it go pies and cakes mode? Not really. That must be our sun tonight. It feels like our sun. And it's going straight up. It's got a little red hat on, like Cartman or whoever that dude is. And wow. Oh my gosh, the sun, or whatever it is, has got an orbital dead in front of it. It does. I mean, there's irrefutable proof right there. Okay, now it went light bulb mode. I don't know why. Nope. No. Nope. You can see it. Oh my gosh, you can see it. There's a small orbiting object at about 1 o'clock. And it just moves up above. And there's one way up a bit further at about 10 o'clock. Wow. I can't believe I just saw that. What was that? Ooh. Now there's something lower at about Oh, I just don't know. Is it a building or probably? Get off me, bug. I have no idea what's slightly in front of the sun. What is that? No, it's two objects. And now a third one at about 3 o'clock, a little bit above 3 o'clock. What? Plain as day. Right there.
It's all on the right side, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Like making an L.
Wow. Well, there's a church spire dead in front of us. It's over on that side. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. I know what it is. It's two suns. It is. The sun simulator is... What's happening down there? To the right of the sun. There's a big red ball to the right of the sun. Oh my God, what is happening down there? What is going on? It's two suns. Time check. 8:57. So we're 5 minutes before official sunset. Oh, it's two suns setting. A little one?
What is that in the middle of there?
I don't know.
I've seen that shit.
What is that that's in between them? Huh? One in front. And there's a little... Jeff, we're filming. What is that? It's a red ball. Pray, lift it up to Jesus. I'm telling you, man. Claim that authority over it.
Jesus, fix this thing, please.
In Jesus' name, amen. Bind any principalities.
Gone, now it works. Can you believe that?
Are you shitting me? I mean, so, listen, I just rebuked him. Jeff, your language. I can't believe it. Come on with a little fake rain. Come on. Come on. And look at this. I mean, it was just dark and now it's getting lighter. No wonder they're bringing the rain. And it's funny because 12's phone died right up until the suns went down and then they worked instantly. And Tomb Raider lady, her phone just died on the way here in the car. Screen went blank, totally unreceptive. And she's Tomb Raider lady, for crying out loud. Is that one of the old Celtic crosses I've seen before? Yeah. And here comes the rain up out of nowhere. My man. 12 came a little bit. Singing in the rain, Negro, come on, boy. And shining in the name. Kind of funny feeling. Getting navy in the rain. All right, y'all. Well, I guess they're. Oh snap! Oh my gosh! Thank God we came back here. My welding glass. No! It would have been gone forever. It would have been mowed. Huh? Oh my goodness! All right, everybody. Wait, hold on, because I feel the air shift. Don't you stop, 7. Ooh. I totally recognize that. That's the big old light-eating ship with the big old bass mouth. It is.
Oh yeah, that is. Yeah, I recognize that.
You do?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's too many times.
Wow. Let the good times roll.
I can almost see them balls up there by now.
It's eating a light source. It is. And look at the, I just don't even know. I mean, look at the colors down there. All right, everybody. Well, thank you all for being with us tonight. I'm glad that 12 and Tomb Raider Lady were both here because it's evidence. Both their phones got toasted.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
We love you all. Stay nibby. It's the Captain and 12. Until next time. Peace. Mwah.
NIBIRU Planet X is coming. But not when you think, shock claim. NIBIRU is due for a devastating pass of the Earth, but not as soon as has been claimed, a seasoned researcher declared not long before he died. Online end-of-the-world prophets have been predicting for months the mythical planetary system will pass us this year, or early next year. The NIBIRU theory was linked to the beginning of the end of the world by Christian fundamentalists, who believed the rapture would start on September 23 and was connected to celestial activity as interpreted from passages in the Bible. But with the world still turning, veteran conspiracy theorist Jim Marrs claimed anyone saying NIBIRU was coming in the next year or so was wrong. Speaking in an episode of Ancient Aliens New World Order, before he died of a heart attack, aged 73, in August, Mr. Marrs said NIBIRU was not predicted to pass us until 2060, giving us more than 40 years to prepare. He said, NIBIRU is destined to return to the vicinity of the Earth in 2060, so it could be on its way to our solar system now. Some people believe this is why we have the highly erratic weather and environmental changes that we see taking place on the Earth. Of course the government acts like nothing is going on, but what else is new? NIBIRU believers are convinced the rogue system is making its way from the outer solar system inwards, where it will wreak havoc on Earth as it passes at about 4 million miles away. They say the planet will cause the poles to switch, sparking great earthquakes and volcanic eruptions, which threaten billions of lives. The NIBIRU theory emerged in 1976, when writer Zecharia Sitchin claimed two ancient Middle Eastern cultures, the Babylonians and Sumerians, told of a giant planet called NIBIRU that orbited the Sun. Mr. Sitchin came up with a conspiracy theory after claiming to have deciphered cuneiform writing on ancient Sumerian tablets. Ancient language scholar Mr. Sitchin said the records showed the Sumerians knew of an extraplanet beyond Pluto called NIBIRU. Theorists say according to Mr. Sitchin's teachings the next pass of Earth will take place around 2060. Not everyone agrees with Mr. Sitchin's interpretation of the texts. In a scientific paper on the myth, Michael S. Heiser, a Hebrew Bible and ancient Semitic languages PhD student of the University of Wisconsin-Madison, wrote, "Is Sitchin correct? Is NIBIRU a 12th planet that passes through our solar system every 3,600 years? Did the Sumerians know this? Are those who equate Sitchin's NIBIRU with Planet X correct in this view?" Unfortunately for Sitchin and his followers, the answer to each of these questions is no. NASA, and a host of other scientists have debunked NIBIRU as myth. All these dates for the end of the world came and went, because as NASA points out, NIBIRU is a myth and a hoax, despite the amount of believers. NASA scientist Dr. David Morrison said, "There is no credible evidence whatever for the existence of NIBIRU. There are no pictures, no tracking, no astronomical observations. I can quite specifically say how we know Planet X or NIBIRU does not exist and does not threaten Earth. Firstly, if there was a planet headed into the inner solar system that was going to come close to the Earth, it would already be inside the orbit of Mars, it would be bright, it would be easily visible to the naked eye, if it was up there it would be easy to see it, all of us could see it." Space boffin Dr. Brian Cox has also insisted Planet X does not exist. And Associate Professor John D. Horner, an astronomer at the University of Southern Queensland in Australia, said, "I've never heard of anybody who's an actual astronomer talk about NIBIRU before. It's basically an urban myth. It's like having a biologist coming out and talking about werewolves and the Sasquatch being real. You just wouldn't hear it."
Have not been that many explanations even attempted over the last 150 years. It's naturally explained by Planet 9 being exactly where we think Planet 9 is, which it's one of these mysteries that we think is now solved. That's been such a mystery that people haven't even really talked about it very much over the last 150 years because it's just been so difficult to think of what it is.
It has been known since the mid-1800s that the sun is tilted. Over the years, people have put forth various explanations for it. One possibility is that the sun was interacting with the protoplanetary disk via magnetic fields. It's also possible that the disk was just asymmetrical from the beginning. And it's also possible that the sun actually had a stellar companion a long time ago.
It was a moment of inspiration. Not all projects start out this way. Not all results really come. Some of them come, it slowly dawns on you. We were sitting in Constantine's office one afternoon and we were actually thinking about a different problem entirely, which is how Planet 9 would interact with these very distant objects in the Kuiper belt that made us originally think that Planet 9 was there. And in just a moment, as we're thinking about it and we're doing this with our hands, trying to think of directions things are going, I think we both realized at about the same time. It's like, oh, it's going to make the sun look tilted too. And it was very clear from the way we did our fingers that it was going to make an effect. What we didn't know until we did the calculations was how much of an effect was it going to have and in what direction was it going to go. But we knew it had to do something.
Planet 9 has been scattered out into the distant solar system. So because it has an orbital period that's so long, it has an enormous amount of angular momentum, right? As much almost as the rest of the solar system combined. So even though as an object it is not as massive as Jupiter, it has a huge lever bar. Okay? And using that lever bar, it can effectively torque the rest of the disk of the solar system by 6 degrees over the age of the sun.
Next, always next on our list is find the planet. We think we have it narrowed down to a pretty small patch in the sky that we have to look at. Small patch in the sky still means we need many, many nights on the telescope. We're pretty convinced that by maybe the end of next winter, we will have been able to cover enough sky that we'll actually be able to find it. When we find it, we both show that this hypothesis has been correct, we learn about it, but we also see how much of the sun, how it should have tilted the sun too, and see if this is the only thing that's been tilting the sun or if other things are around doing it. When we looked at the outer solar system, we realized that while most of the very distant objects, these objects beyond Neptune, beyond Pluto, most of these objects, they all go around the sun and they're all sort of pointing off in all different directions. But the most distant objects all swing out in one direction in a very strange way that shouldn't happen. And we realized that the only way we could get them to all swing in one direction is if there is a massive planet also very distant in the solar system, keeping them in place while they all go around the sun. And we started looking at this and thinking, this must be either a coincidence or it's caused by something else. It can't be caused by a planet because that's crazy. There are no planets out there. I went from trying very hard to be skeptical that what we were talking about was true to suddenly thinking, oh, this actually might even be true.
So the object itself likely is more massive than the Earth, probably a little bit less massive than Neptune. It sits right in between that terrestrial to giant icy planet range. Its orbit, unlike the orbits of the known planets, is not nearly circular and planar. Instead, it is exceptionally wide, 20 times bigger than the orbit of Neptune. The orbital period of the Earth is, of course, 1 year. Right? The orbital period of Jupiter, the big player in our solar system, is about 10 years. The orbital period of this putative 9th planet is 20,000 years.
We have nothing like it in the solar system, so it's new for us. It is, however, the most common mass of planets that have been found around all of the other stars. People have always looked at all these other planets in this strange mass range and said, wow, I wonder what these are. I don't know what these are because we don't have anything like it in the solar system. Looks like maybe we do. I'm really hoping that as we announce this, people start a worldwide search to go find this 9th planet.
Again, solar stream is coming from the right. That's where the sun is. All the plasma in the blue is being blown backwards. That's a part of our protective shield here. 2 hours missing, 5:37, exactly the same time. Everything goes haywire. Come up to that point again. Everything's coming from the right. Bam. Now the black lines are our field lines. That's our magnetic field lines. Very important. They have now bent backwards at this point. People have talked about Planet X, NIBIRU, Planet 7. If there's an object coming in, would it have orbiting planets? Would it have debris with it?
So this is some stuff that piqued my curiosity that I'm sharing with you here. All of this stuff will be linked. I suggest you go to the Caltech thing and watch the whole video. But anyways, I'm going to try and get through this quickly for you. Planet X to really cause mass extinction this month. This is April 9th, 2016. We're going to come down here. Thanks to science, we know that the larger the celestial body, the bigger its gravity, and consequently its ability to affect other, smaller bodies around it. We've known of Jupiter's crucial role in protecting us from asteroids for quite some time now, but the mysterious Nibiru could very well do the opposite, and some say there's good reason to believe it. We're going to come down here. A retired astrophysics professor from the University of Louisiana, Daniel Whitmire, is saying Nibiru has all but arrived to our neck of the woods, and that the destruction brought about by its gravitational trickery will take place this very April, as it's done numerous times before. Then we're going to come down here. Earlier this year, we started seeing space anomalies manifesting in a small group of objects, which have been taking on a peculiar orbit. Only something 10 times the size of the Earth, as theorized with Nibiru, could influence celestial objects in such a way, according to a study from Caltech. The anomaly was picked up on in the Kuiper Belt, which stretches all the way past Neptune, and it resurrected a 100-year debate. And then we're going to come over here, because again, this stuff just piqued my curiosity, and I wanted to share it with you. This is fire officials' reclaim report of possible meteor strike in Bowie. This is Bowie, Maryland. This was on April 25th, 2016. And we're going to come down here where this was put out by the Bowie Volunteer Fire Department. Possible meteorite strike behind Scarlet Oak Terrace causing a massive brush fire. And then we're going to come up here and see that when firefighters made it to the site, there was a large pit, which was 12 to 15 feet wide by 5 to 6 feet deep. And the fire spread to adjacent trees and brush and took approximately 15 firefighters 4 hours to extinguish. But again, they came out and said, nope, that should have never been put out. The post should have never listed a meteorite as the cause. Okay. Okay, so now we're coming over here. Was it a meteor? Solving the mystery of New Jersey's tsunami buoy. April 25th, 2016. A tsunami warning device about 200 miles off the coast of New Jersey went into event mode over the weekend, but there were no giant waves threatening the shore. There was speculation that the drop could have been triggered by a meteor because the Lyrid meteor showers were active during the weekend. There also was speculation a submarine could have struck the buoy. So again, this stuff just piqued my curiosity, want to share. We're going to move here. Okay, so now here we are, coast to coast. This was from March 30th, 2016. In the first half of the show, retired investigative researcher Bob Fletcher talked about his contention that a rogue Planet X, or Nibiru, is coming our way, and the disastrous effects it could have for Earth. He first became suspicious that something was afoot when he discovered that massive amounts of money were being funneled out of the government and the Federal Reserve. He concluded that these funds were surreptitiously used for the construction and stocking of underground facilities that will house the elite and members of the New World Order, while the arrival of Planet X wreaks cataclysms upon the planet's surface. According to his sources, the knowledge of Planet X dates as far back as 1983. So again, I was just like, well, that's interesting. And so we're coming over here because I remember hearing about Rumsfeld talking about the missing $2.3 trillion that they couldn't track on September 10th. And we all know what happened on September 11th, 2001. Nobody was talking about the missing money. So I Googled just to see, and there was this one, which brought me over here. So here we are, debunked. Rumsfeld says 2.3 trillion missing from the Pentagon. In 2001, Donald Rumsfeld said, according to some estimates, we cannot track 2.3 trillion in transactions. This has been misinterpreted by many people as 2.3 trillion actually going missing. However, it's really just about the way the money was accounted for. So here's the original source. Go look at it for yourself, right? Okay. Oh, well, golly gee. Page not found. Okay, well, there was another link, right? Here, we can also see this. Huh. No input file specified, but yes, there was. So again, this was something, this has gone long, but it really, really piqued my curiosity. And I wanted to share it because, again, trying to put the pieces together. Here we are. He first became suspicious that something was afoot when he discovered that massive amounts of money were being funneled out of the government. And then, I don't know. This just made me go, that's interesting.
What we have discovered is that numerous features of the Kuiper Belt, a field of icy debris beyond the orbit of Neptune, can be understood if the solar system possesses an additional ninth planet that resides well beyond the orbits of the known planets.
When we looked at the outer solar system, we realized that while most of the very distant objects, these objects beyond Neptune, beyond Pluto, most of these objects, they all go around the sun and they're all sort of pointing off in all different directions. But the most distant objects all swing out in one direction in a very strange way that shouldn't happen. And we realized that the only way we could get them to all swing in one direction is if there is a massive planet also very distant in the solar system, keeping them in place while they all go around the sun. And we started looking at this and thinking, this must be either a coincidence or it's caused by something else. It can't be caused by a planet because that's crazy. There are no planets out there. I went from trying very hard to be skeptical that what we were talking about was true to suddenly thinking, oh, this actually might even be true.
So the object itself likely is more massive than the Earth, probably a little bit less massive than Neptune. It sits right in between that terrestrial to giant icy planet range. Its orbit, unlike the orbits of the known planets, is not nearly circular and planar. Instead, it is exceptionally wide, 20 times bigger than the orbit of Neptune. The orbital period of the Earth is, of course, 1 year. Right? The orbital period of Jupiter, the big player in our solar system, is about 10 years. The orbital period of this putative ninth planet is 20,000 years.
We have nothing like it in the solar system, so it's new for us. It is, however, the most common mass of planets that have been found around all of the other stars. People have always looked at all these other planets in this strange mass range and said, wow, I wonder what these are. I don't know what these are because we don't have anything like it in the solar system. Looks like maybe we do. There are many telescopes on the Earth that actually have a chance of being able to find it. And I think that many people will be inspired to use their telescopes. I'm really hoping that as we announce this, people start a worldwide search to go find this ninth planet.
History shows us that it's a bad idea to consistently say we have now reached the end of the solar system and there's nothing beyond what we already know.
And all those people who are mad that Pluto is no longer a planet can be thrilled to know that there's a real planet out there still to be found.